Hey, this is JR, the TextPad on the go. Hey, you may think that the title of this video and the thumbnail's clickbait, but I assure you it's not. Being a hostage doesn't mean that you're sitting somewhere in a chair tied up with a bag over your head and a gag in your mouth. That's not the only definition of a hostage. I'm going to read you the definitions of a hostage. It's a person held by one party in a conflict as a pledge pending the fulfillment of that agreement. Well, that kind of applies, but here's the one that really applies. One that is involuntarily controlled by an outside influence. That would be me. And the outside influence is the Vietnam Immigration Department. This has been a long ordeal, and it started a long time ago. Actually, back in 2021, when I tried to renew my business visa. I renewed my business visa in 2020 two times, and on the third time it was already May of 2021, and I was informed that I could no longer renew that visa. Well, trust me, this was not a good time. This was the height of the pandemic. All of the land borders to Vietnam were closed. Air flights were just mostly not available, and if they were thousands of dollars. Vietnam changed their business type and caused a lot of people a lot of trouble to have to leave when it was the middle of the pandemic. And that's not a safe time to travel. And they should have known that, but apparently they didn't care. Well, one of the things you might ask is why was my visa no longer extendable? Well, that's real simple. Vietnam simply changed the definition of the business visa to a work visa, and then they quit issuing the business visa. Formerly, the business visa, you could enter the country for a year, you could get it online, there was no sponsorship required, and you could stay in Vietnam as long as you were doing business here, which could be anything. It could be investigating opportunities. In my case, I was doing some surveys for companies in the U.S. To get good qualified suppliers, and also people that wanted to buy condos. A real estate company in the U.S. that asked me to investigate and make surveys of condos that were for sale that people had shown interest in. So I did a little of that, and yeah, it was okay. When I was just a tourist, I came in on a tourist visa. But when I was doing that, I came in on the business visa. So that's the reason I had a business visa to start with. But like I said, Vietnam just changed the definition of it and then quit issuing it. So a business visa became a work visa. You know, I'm 70-something years old, and well, actually I'm 74 years old, and I decided that for my health and my safety that I was going to overstay. I knew what the fine would be because I was under the old rules. It should have been around 5 million. The new rules, it would have been around 20 million, but still, that's not so bad. It's a lot better than traveling around and catching COVID when you're my age. So I didn't want to do that for sure. My wife was here too. Rhea was on an automatic visa extension of tourist visas. She was on a different visa type than I was. Mine was a business visa, hers was a tourist visa. Hers was automatically extended all the way up until January 15th of 2022. And with about 5 days notice, Vietnam canceled that. So we had to get her out too. It was a little difficult because things were tough in the Philippines, but we got her out at the end of March. She had to pay a little overstay, about $780. To me, that was the important thing, is getting Rhea back to the Philippines so she could be near her family and also could get us a house set up and ready to go when I went there. Well, I went there as another story entirely, and that's what I'm going to tell you now. The Vietnamese government blacklisted me, so I couldn't renew a visa or do anything. And they wanted $3,800 US to fix this little problem that they claimed was my mistake. Well, there was no mistake made on my part. All I did was extend my visas through travel agencies, and I used the cheapest ones I could find on the internet. So if that's somehow a mistake that's worth $3,800, I'd kind of wonder about that, wouldn't you? I think that number was pulled out of the air. I really thought it was a scam. That's why I didn't even respond to paying it. I mean, that $3,800 for basically a 1 month overstay is a little bit ridiculous. And the things that they said were suspicious and they blacklisted me for were just normal activities. I was buying a visa at the lowest price. That's it. From a travel agency. And they should be approving those travel agencies. So I had no control over it. I didn't authorize anybody to do anything illegal on my behalf. All I wanted was an extension. Back here in April, when I was attempting to leave the country, I bought my airline ticket, was going to the immigration office and going through all the steps. I didn't think it was a scam at all. I thought everything was okay until they seized my passport. Then I knew their $3,800 that they wanted was not a scam. Somebody in the officialdom of the immigration office had done it, and they had made it part of my record. So for some reason, for less than 2 months overstay, they wanted $3,800 plus my overstay fee. So you go figure that one out. So anyway, here I am. I'm in Vietnam. My wife's in the Philippines. Nearly 3 months have gone by since they seized my passport. There's nothing in the rules that I've read about overstays that would have caused that to even exist. But yeah, I did overstay, and I've got to take the blame for that. From the time that I tried to renew my visa or extend my visa until September 1st, I was actually barricaded in my neighborhood. It's hard to believe. They want you to leave the country, but you're barricaded in your neighborhood because of COVID-19. So you go figure out the logic of that. They're deliberately putting you at risk. Yeah, that shows a lot of concern for your foreign visitors, doesn't it? Okay, you might ask, have I tried the immigration office in Ho Chi Minh City? Well, I've made a bunch of videos on that. I've made 4 videos about it. Yes, of course I've done it. I went there first to find out if I could get a sponsor. I have several companies here that would sponsor me if I needed a sponsor, and they're legitimate companies. But I certainly wouldn't want to be working there. I thought a sponsorship was just to ensure that you didn't leave Vietnam owing rent or a bunch of money or something, and your sponsor agreed to take care of that. Well, I could have done that, but no, that's not the way sponsorship works here. Sponsorship under the new system of visas meant a work visa. So anyway, I wasted a few weeks with the sponsorship thing and caused a lot of inconvenience for my friends at the companies that I worked with and that I knew that could sponsor me, and we were basically turned down. So I went back to the immigration office. Well, this time they said they couldn't extend me because I didn't have the proper airline ticket. I had my reservation, but I didn't have the receipt with all the actual numbers on it. So I had to go back home and get the proper paperwork and then go back to the immigration office. I went back a few days later with all the right paperwork, and at that time I was told by the agent there that hey, I'd really gotten lucky and that all I was going to have to do is pay the exit fee, which is roughly 795,000 Vietnam dong, which is not a lot of money, and a $5 million overstay fee, again because of the fact that I entered the country under the old rules, not the new rules. Well, man, I was happy about that. I jumped up and down, made a video about it, and went home smiling. They told me to come back in a week and pay my overstay fee. So I was ready to do that. I had my $5 million in hand, and a week later I went back. Well, when I went back, I had a pretty big disappointment. They didn't want to accept my $5 million, but they did seize my passport and paperwork, and they said that Hanoi would get back to me on that, and it would take 4 to 6 weeks, that they'd been running pretty slow. There was a backlog. So I understood that. That's not a big problem. I made arrangements with my landlord to stay, and everything was working out okay. Well, 4 to 6 weeks went by, and I've heard nothing from the Vietnamese government, nothing from their immigration department, nothing from the local immigration department, nothing from the Hanoi immigration department, and the police haven't been by the house. So I don't exactly know what's going on, but I know I can't leave. I've been by a couple of times to check to see if there was any news, and there wasn't any news. I've also been by the U.S. Embassy to see if they could help, and of course, they don't want to get involved. They say they can't, but I think they can. We give a lot of aid to Vietnam, and if the embassy really wanted to do something, they could do it. But they don't really care that much about helping the citizens with problems like this. Nobody's contacted me. They've got my phone number, they've got my address, they've got my email address, but no one's contacted me. No one's come by to interview me. I haven't interviewed with anyone in immigration except talking to the agent through the glass window with the hole in it. That's it. I have not had any discussion or interviews with anyone about my situation. They don't talk to you. I wrote a letter, and I wrote it in English, of course, describing the situation that occurred, and I also translated it into Vietnamese. So there's no excuse that they couldn't understand it. It was in Vietnamese and English. Do you think they ever answered the emails containing that? No, they didn't. They haven't contacted me at all. And here I am, actually in limbo. I haven't seen my wife since March 31st. I'm paying the expense of staying here, plus the expense of my wife living in the Philippines. It's not a good situation at all. It does show you how you can get caught up in a system that's flawed. The system was flawed, and there's no solution to the problem I have, especially if nobody will talk to you. We could work something out, but I don't think they want to work anything out. If they did, they'd contact me. I have to say I'm really disappointed in the way they've handled their half of this deal. I've been trying to take care of my half the best I can and follow all their instructions, which a lot of times were misleading, but I've done everything I could to cooperate. I'm not new to Vietnam. I've been in and out of this country and have had a rent house here for 9 years. So I followed the visa laws pretty carefully. Otherwise, I wouldn't be welcome here this last time. In 9 years, I never had a problem. None at all. Until this incident in 2021 when Vietnam decided to change the rules in the middle of the pandemic. Good timing, huh, guys? Here's what I think. I don't know if there's going to be a solution or not. I don't know if I should be looking for a coyote to take me across the border or what. But I do need to get out of here and get to see my wife. I am going to try talking to the U.S. consulate one more time and see if that helps. I hope it does. And of course, I'll go by the immigration office and be told that nothing's happened. I'm sure it hasn't. So this leaves me with this conclusion. One, would I go to Vietnam as a tourist again? Well, no, I wouldn't. They've changed the rules on that. Used to, you could get a 3-month tourist visa. Now you can get a 1-month tourist visa. You can't extend it. You have to leave the country. Well, for somebody that's retired and wants to visit a foreign country, that doesn't work. You really need, more time, because you're going to hang out and see the country, travel around the country. A month isn't enough. Would I teach in Vietnam? Well, no, I wouldn't, because I'm not a teacher. I don't ever plan to be a teacher, and obviously, if you're not a teacher and you don't plan to be, even though I am qualified to be one, it doesn't make sense to try to come in and play like you're a teacher. I'm not one. Would I advise you to come in and teach? Not with the visa situation like they have it. I've had teachers writing to me saying they were having problems with the visa system too. One of them was in an overstay. It's not a good situation, so no, I wouldn't do it. How about business or investment in Vietnam? Well, of course not. That's not an option. Would I buy a condo here? No. I don't even know if you could get to your condo all the time. What if you have a condo here and you can only get a 1-month tourist visa? You visit your condo and then you have to leave? Nah, I don't think so. I'm not sure how all that would work, but it certainly doesn't sound like it'd be a stable situation. You can buy a condo in other countries like Thailand or Philippines, and you can go there and stay a lot longer than 30 days. And doing business in Vietnam, hey, until these guys can make decisions and make rules that stick and that are friendly to foreigners, there's no reason to put your money here. They've also changed the investment rules here and made it more difficult and more expensive to be an investor and get an investor visa. So, is there a safe way to get a visa here? Well, probably the only safe way is to marry a Vietnamese girl. But I don't think Ray would put up with me doing that. That'd be death penalty for me right there. A marriage visa, though, is really probably the only safe visa that you can get. But the real situation was exacerbated by their lack of communication. They just don't talk to you. I don't know if they are avoiding a conflict or if they don't care or if my paperwork just moved to the bottom of the basket. Whatever it is, they don't seem to want to talk about it. I think it's a really bad situation. I'm stuck in it. Hey, I'm doing the best I can and trying to keep a stiff upper lip and be happy about being alive, which at my age is a good thing to be. A lot of people aren't. So again, the situation is tough. The Vietnamese don't communicate. And to start with, this whole problem was caused by them changing the rules in the middle of the pandemic, which they should have never done. I mean, that was absurd. It cost a lot of people a lot of money, created a lot of ill will, got a lot of publicity on the internet, in the tourist vlogs and things. So I think that they hurt themselves more than they think. If you think about it, if just a few people read some of my videos about this situation and they choose not to go to Vietnam, it costs Vietnam a lot more than the fees that they could possibly collect from me. It just doesn't make sense. A country that depends on tourism for a big part of its income really should do all it can to make sure that foreigners are welcome. And Vietnam's not doing that. I hope the tourist industry and businesses here put a little pressure on the government and try to get this mess straightened up. Of course, I'm not going to come back, and I know Rhea won't come back, so for us it doesn't matter. So if you want to come here as a tourist, I probably wouldn't do it. I don't like the current situation. And of course, if you tried to come here to invest or get involved in some business situation, you can't do it because they don't have a business visa anymore. They only have work visas. I don't know. It looks to me like they're just not foreigner friendly at all. I've done what I could. I've written my congressman in the States about it. I've contacted the consulate. I've been to the immigration office a bunch of times, and nothing ever seems to happen. I've made over 300 videos about Vietnam, and most of them really positive. I don't complain about it because I love it here, and I love the people here. And it really makes me sad to see a situation like this occur and get the publicity that it does. I'm going to continue to make videos about the situation and let people know what's going on. I just wouldn't advise anybody to come here. I think that anytime a country changes the rules and adversely affects so many foreigners at one time as they did during a pandemic of all times, that that country doesn't deserve your support or your tourist dollars or your investment dollars. You know, I was in the Philippines for 6 years and I never had any problems with the visas there. They really have it down. They do a good job on it. They have a retirement visa too, so if you really want to retire somewhere, you can go there and get a genuine retirement visa that's really great, and it lets you leave or come back multiple entry. It's not a problem. And of course, if you are married in the Philippines, you also can get a visa really easily too. Same as in Vietnam. But bottom line, Vietnam doesn't have anything to offer like that. Thailand does, several of the other countries in ASEAN do, but not Vietnam. So here I am, a hostage in Vietnam. I'm under their control, I can't leave the country, and they won't tell me why. So basically, I'm a hostage, but there's no ransom note. I don't know what to do about it. If anybody has any suggestions that I haven't explored already, I would certainly appreciate you leaving a comment below. I don't want to hear a bunch of "it's your fault" and "Vietnam can do what they want" comments. If you truly have a good idea or you know someone that can help, let me know. I'd appreciate that. The other kind of comments, you can make them and I won't delete them, but they're stupid. So do what you want. Hey, I want to thank my friends here at Royal Cafe. They let me film in here all the time, and I really appreciate it. It's a great place, and if you come to Vietnam and you're in Tan Phu District, you definitely need to come to Royal Cafe. It's a lovely place. I want to thank everybody for watching and staying with me. I know this visa stuff gets boring, but you guys have been tuning into it. I've got thousands of views about my visa situation, and hopefully there won't be many more of these because we'll get this problem settled. But so far, I don't see that happening. This is JR, the Texpat on the Go, saying thank y'all for watching.